Here's an example of a situation that I know my mother and father couldn't handle, which I did handle. So after my mother died and my father's got his new side piece, his new girlfriend that he's about to marry, and once he marries, it's his new wife. I'm trying to deal with all this. Now, I still have my neurological condition. They've all seen me get stuck on the beach. They've seen me skinny. My father's seen me during the OD. He's seen me talk about it at the doctor's office. He's seen me get stuck in the cold. He's seen me fall during fireworks. He's seen me have problems with cold. He's seen me get stuck on the ground from cold. He's seen me shake. He's seen me cry from the cold. He's seen all these things. But his new wife has only seen me at age 5 get stuck on a, oh, actually, no, it's probably older, age 7, 8, right after the overdose. This is like right after the overdose. So 7? Yeah, about 7. Anyways, whatever, this is right after the overdose. We're on some beach visiting in Hampton, and it gets cold. I ask to go home. They say no. They start putting on these light, like windbreakers, some of them. It gets too cold for me, so I get locked up with a shovel in my hand. There's a bucket in front of me. I was playing it at like 30 minutes before, but now I can't play. My nervous system's all fucked up. Whenever I try to scoop, it just feels really bad in my back. So I'm just sitting there. I don't have words to describe this. To me, this is just life for me after the overdose. I've now brought this up to my parents. I've brought it up to the doctors. My mother's calling an allergy attack. My father's ignoring it. The teacher seemed concerned. The doctor seems concerned. But my mother doesn't want the teachers to help me. She doesn't want the doctors to help me with this. She says she doesn't know what the medications is. Don't worry about it. Don't pay any attention to it. Anyways, so I get locked up after about 15 minutes. I can't stand my leg. I can't move my legs. My arm doesn't want to seem to shovel anymore. I'm having trouble picking up the buckets. And I want to go home. I want to get out of this fucking cold. It doesn't feel good, but I can't really move. They say it's time to go, and everybody leaves. They say, come on, Zach. Come on, Zach. I say, I can't get up. I can't stand up. I can't go. I don't want to go. I can't go. At this point, my mother just says, fine, I'll leave you here. So they start going across the street. They get all the way down the road. And then they realize it's not working. Zach's not getting up and following us. Normally that works with a 7-year-old. Well, maybe me at 7 years old is having more than a problem. Maybe that overdose I'm speaking at in front of my father, maybe that stuff that I'm very concerned at the doctors might need to be looked at. Maybe the stuff that the teachers are talking to them about might need to be looked at. Maybe whatever's causing this major change and why the teachers are putting me in physical therapy, speech therapy, the doctor's concerned about these medications being given to me and my mother's making excuses. Maybe that should be looked into. But no. Instead, my mother comes over there, grabs my arm, rips me up, just like rips me up, starts dragging me. I'm hopping around. I'm not able to really get my feet to work. I'm dragging in the sand. She's yelling at me, how dare you not come with me? When I say come, you come. When I demand something, I demand you to do it. When I say jump, you jump, okay? If I say you take these pills, you take these pills. If I say jump off a bridge, you jump off a bridge. If I smack you and say to keep your mouth shut, you do that. If I lie about you, you're supposed to keep your mouth shut and take my lies. My mother's just doing one of those evil looks, screaming while dragging me, dragging me, dragging me. I'm having trouble walking. It's very obvious I'm having trouble walking. I eventually get to the road. For some reason, the sun starts helping the movement of me trying to do this. And of course, my mother's ripping me around. It's not, I'm kind of able to walk, but I'm getting shocked in the back. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm crying. I'm upset. I'm in pain. And for the rest of the day, I don't feel too good. I mean, I'm able to kind of be normal, but I'm very slow moving. It kind of hurts in my back a little bit. I don't know what to call it. It's not a pain. It's more like a very light taser feeling. When I was in the hospital, by the way, I used to put lunch trays on my back to help it. And the staff members used to come in and go, Zach, why are you putting a lunch tray on your back? Isn't that bed comfortable enough? I mean, why would a lunch tray? That's hard. Wouldn't that hurt your back? I say, it's not my back that's hurt. It's something in my nervous system. And when I make it really straight like that, it seems to reduce some of the shockings. So I know they have it in my medical file. I've been talking about this for 25 years. I was talking about at age 7 in front of my father. I was talking about at age 8 in front of my father. I was talking about at age 9 in front of my father. Talking about age 10 in front of my father. Talking about it. Well, and then in New Mexico, my mother only wanted me to talk about the abuse in New Mexico. And she used to tell me to shut up about the pills. Shut up about that stuff. And she got more and more mad the more I talked about my overdose and my nervous system. She wanted nobody to know about that. So by the time we got to Chelmsford, she started to try to make everything seem like a mental illness. That way, if anybody actually found it, they would just say it's a side effect to the meds. Like when we were going to one doctor my mother loved. My mother loved to go to this doctor 2.5 hours away because this doctor would feed her fantasies, feed them all. Every time she was going crazy and making up fantasies, said, "You're lying, you're lying." The doctor would say, "Can't you just let that go? Why can't you let your mother's lies go?" Stuff like that. Like I'm the one that's supposed to be letting her make up illnesses about me. See, that's because this doctor was feeding on my mother. Mostly because he was writing a book, and my mother makes a good chapter for him. So, yeah, that's why we went there. So one day I said, they said, "Do you have any side effects or any illnesses that you want to get looked at, Zach?" This is the end now. My mother's been ranting, making up stories for the whole appointment. Finally, we get to me. I mean, this is my psych doctor. What's finally helped me? Well, I'm having a lot of twitching. My neck goes like this, my shoulder goes like this, and it's like a spasm. I don't know what to call it. It's been going on forever. He goes, "Well, it's probably just a side effect of the medication. We'll just go up on this medication. That'll get better." I say the tics are getting worse, better, worse, better, worse. When summer gets around, it's better. When it's winter, it's worse. They are from my whole life. It's not a side effect from the medication. But guess what? We never talked about it again. The next time we went to see Dr. Blum, my mother got the whole appointment to herself ranting again, and I got to draw a picture of my father on paper. They gave me a pad book of paper and said, "Draw your father," for the whole appointment. Meanwhile, my mother just rants and rants and comes up with fantasy after fantasy after fantasy. "I think he's bipolar. I think that he has this illness. I think he has this illness. He's writing people's names. He has a problem with his biological mother." Then Zach, do you have any memories of your biological mother? No. Are you sure you're not upset at your mother because of your biological mother? No, it has nothing to do with my biological. Well, we think it does. It doesn't. And no matter how many times I tried to get help with these psychiatrists, they always fed with my mother. They never spent any time with me. Anytime we had family therapy with the three of us there, my father just nodded his head with my mother, agreed with my mother, and said nothing. I got to draw in the corner and keep my mouth shut. And anytime I tried to speak about my health, my mother would just jump down my throat and say, "No, no, 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 no. He just has a problem with his mother. It's a fantasy. It's a lie. He has a problem with his biological mother." Stuff like that. And the more she did this, the more when I brought up something important like an overdose, they would be like, "Are you sure this isn't one of your fantasies?" There is no fantasies. The only fantasies are coming out of my mother. The fact that my mother gave me pills and I lost my vision is not a fucking fantasy. I lived it. I'm living it today. It happened. My mother admitted to it in a doctor's office that I'm sure he has recorded and written down. I tell the doctor about my vision at the age of 7, me losing it, me having problems with my nervous system, my mother giving me that overdose. I described that to the doctor, and my mother's response was, "I gave him medicine and must have been a reaction to the combination of medicine." So we know something did happen that day. But yet, as time went on, as I mentioned this more and more, my mother tried to cover it up more and more. So by the time I was 15, my mother was calling everything she ever did that was Zach's fantasy. Zach's just lying. Zach's a liar. He's a thief. It's a fantasy. She started this shit with my swimming medal at the age of 5. When I first met this adopted mother, right? I went to show her one of my swimming medals I won in the orphanage. She snatched it out of my hand, stole it, told me I'm no good, it must be African American, said I stole it, I'm a liar, I have attachment disorder, I need to be drugged on medicine, and I'm trying to get back at her by putting G's on the back of the medal. Now, how did my mother come up with all this? All in her own head, right then, right there. It was all some fantasy that she fantasized. Instead of saying, "Good job, Zach, where did you win this medal?" And I say, "The orphanage." Who wrote the ZG on the back? "Oh, there's some staff member at the pool." Instead of doing that, instead of being like, "Oh, good job, son," She created a fantasy in her head in 30 seconds and then went to spread it for the next 20 years, getting me drugged up, pilled up, and I'm all fucked up in the head. I've had my accomplishment taken away. I'm crying every day. I have no clue what's going on. All I know is my mother's stealing my things, and she's telling stories about me. How does a child handle that? While getting overdosed, a neurological disorder, and then trafficked halfway around the country so that he doesn't get any help. How do you handle with that? I don't think my father could handle it. I don't think my father could handle having his accomplishments and the things he holds dear, like his house or his car, totally taken from him. Then everybody just says it's a fantasy. No, 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 you never had a car, Dad. No, you never had a house in Maine. No, that's my house. You never had a house. No, 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 you're a liar, Dad. You never had a house in Maine. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. See, my name is right here, right on the lease to the house, right on the paperwork. I don't care if I forged it. It's not, you have a fantasy. That's a fantasy. Nobody's forging anything, Dad. You're just fantasizing. No, no, no. Then I drug him that night. I give him an overdose. I don't even bring him to the hospital. And then he's bumbling to himself in the morning. What's wrong with me? I don't think he could handle that like I had to. And I'm still having to. At the age of 31, I'm still not getting medical care for what my mother did to me. And if you want to know why, it's not like I'm not going to the doctors. It's not like I haven't been to the emergency room like 50 times. It's not like I haven't been rushed to the emergency room. It's not like I'm not on my 8th or 10th seizure. It's not like other people aren't seeing this. The problem is that my mother and father made sure to move me around so much that nobody spent any real time with me, so the only people that know I have this are the people around me now. On top of this, my father continues to lie. He remarried somebody who knows nothing about the situation, and on top of this, he's covered up every single thing he knows is true. And on top of this, he never once did the right thing when his wife was acting inappropriate, even when there's very clear red flags that something is going wrong with his wife. He continues to shovel the shit onto his son's head and then point and go, look at that shithead, look at that shithead. Meanwhile, him and his wife just take a big pile of shit, put a shovel in it, put it on their son's head and go, look at the shithead, look at the shithead. Then they go in again, pile more shit, put it on their son's head and say, look at the shithead, look at the shithead. Meanwhile, I'm over here shaking, having seizures, trying to clean off the shit that my parents are putting on me. Yeah, I would really like them to clean up some of the shit that they're putting on me. Like my Social Security, my physical disabilities, like cleaning up some of the fake disabilities they created. That would be a good start. Or at least just having a conversation like a normal human being. I say I had an overdose at age 7 from your wife. You act concerned. You ask follow-up questions like, when was this? Did we go to a doctor? Yes, we did, Dad. You were there in front of a doctor when I mentioned it. I was? Yes, you were. And you know what Mom said? What? What did she say when you brought this up? She said it was an allergy attack to a combination of meds she gave me. But do you know what else, Dad? She refused to bring me to an ambulance when the people on the phone told her to bring me to the hospital. How about all the lies? How about all the manipulations? How about when we were sitting at a DMH? You remember when she called me a liar and I called her a liar in front of the DMH worker and you didn't know who the liar was and I took the phone out and said I had a recording? Who had a problem with that recording? Was it me? Or did Patricia have a problem with it? Because if it was going to prove who was telling the truth, tell me, Dad, why would Patricia not want to prove that she's the one telling the truth and her son is lying through his teeth? You're telling me that if there was proof that I was lying, my mother wouldn't play it to prove that her son was lying? Absolutely she would. She has no problem calling her son a liar, trying to prove her son is a liar, trying to do that. So if I pulled out a recording of that day and it proves that my mother wasn't lying, she would let it play right away. But I knew I was the one telling the truth. She's full of shit getting me hurt. She's doing all these fucking crazy things. And I know she's going to flip the fuck out as soon as I tell her I have the truth on record. And she did. As soon as the truth was there and I could play it for somebody, she flipped the fuck out. And that proves that she was the one that I No, I said I was telling the truth. She said she was telling the truth. One of us is lying. How do you find out who is lying in a situation like that? You cut the baby in half. You do what the Bible says. You throw in some extra things and you see how people react. So we threw in a recording and we saw how she reacted. If she said, "Okay, Zach, play the damn thing so we can call you a liar." That's what she would do if she was telling the truth. Right away she would say, "Oh yeah? Play it, I dare you, play it." That's what my mother would have said if she knew she was telling the truth. But if my mother knew she was lying, she would say, "No, don't you dare play it. I'll break you and I'll break it. I will smack you so hard you'll be in the moon. I don't give a fuck. You don't play it. You don't play it. You're not allowed to record me. You don't play it." That's what she would do if she was guilty of lying. But if she was telling the truth and I was lying, she would say, "Play the damn recording so we all can see how much of a liar my son is. Yeah, you think you're so smart. Play the fucking thing." That's what my mother would say if she was telling the truth. So, which one did she do? Did she tell me to play the recording to prove me wrong? Or did she get all upset trying to prevent anybody from ever hearing that recording? She did the latter. She tried to yell and make sure that nobody would ever hear the truth. She said, "Don't play the truth. Don't play the truth. I don't want the truth being played. I don't care. I don't want the flow truth being played. I don't care. I don't want the recording being played. No, 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 no." That's what my mother did. Now, what she didn't know is there was no recording. If she just said, "Play the recording," then I would have been fucked. I would have nowhere to say and nowhere to go. But I knew I was telling the truth. I knew that my mother was lying. So I took out a phone with nothing on it, and I told her there was a recording on it. Now, there was no recording on it of that day. But that day, I remembered like the back of my hand. I'm telling the truth about what happened. My mother's lying through her teeth again. I think it was that she smacked the shit out of me or something. And so at that point, I said I had a recording of that incident, and my mother flipped the fuck out because now she did something wrong. She's lying about it, and she's trying to cover it up in front of a DMH worker and my father. So if that recording gets played, everybody knows my mother lied, smacked me, did stuff she wasn't supposed to. So there's no way she's going to let me play that recording. Now, I knew this. I knew my mother was lying. I knew she was very psycho. I knew she was doing these things. And I knew after this meeting my mother was going to give it to me bad. Probably just drug me the shit out of me and make me a drooling mess. These are the type of things you look into. But instead, my father continued to blame me. Like when my mother took my medicine, the Vicodin, out of the cabinet. My mother was swallowing her son's Vicodin. Her son caught her, and those medicines were still needed. I still needed those from extreme migraines as a PRN. But it's been a couple weeks, and my mother decides she's going to take them to get stoned. I see this. It's not like I'm just sitting in the room watching TV with permission, and I see her doing this. So I go downstairs after telling my mother, "Please don't steal my meds," and I tell my father. You know what ends up happening? They punish me. They tell me it's all my fault for having my eyes open. "Zach, you shouldn't have your eyes open. It's all your fault that your mother's stealing your pills. So we're going to punish you. It's only one time. Your mother only stole your pills one time, so it's all right. You shouldn't have your eyes open seeing it, so we're going to punish you." And they turned it around and said, "I'm in trouble for my mother stealing meds because I shouldn't have had eyeballs." It's not like I didn't have permission to watch TV in the room. I asked for permission to watch TV in the room. It wasn't like I forced my mother to steal my meds. It wasn't like I asked her to steal my meds. It wasn't like I told her to hide my meds and try to take control of them. It wasn't like anything like that. I just knew my meds were going missing, and I just wanted to keep an eye on the bottle, so I started watching TV near my bottle. That's it. Then my mother started popping pills in front of me, and I told my father. And then I got punished because my mother was stealing my Vicodin. How fucked up is that? They always turn this shit around. My mother smacks me, lies about it, covers her story up, and I'm in trouble. My mother gives me an overdose, I'm telling it to a doctor, I'm in trouble. I win a swimming medal in an orphanage, I'm in trouble and need to be drugged. I see my mother stealing pills out of the closet, I'm in trouble. I was always in trouble for stuff I didn't do. My whole family knew this. My own nephew used to know this. We used to joke around about it. We'd say, when in doubt, blame Zach. His mother does it all the time.